Jibon de Kano Jumana Tada Menon Yedema Sanjum Bejawa Shaja Tubana Zemo Judo Jamba Jumden de Jamba Jumba Zobe Sanje Ribodan Shanam Devilish Jiden Jamba Jibon de Kano Jumana Tada Menon Yedema Sanje Jumden de Shaja Tubana Sasano Judo Jamba Dama Jumden Dijaba Jamba Yandaba Zobe Sanje Ribodan Devreshavan Jiden Jamba Jibon de Kano Jumana Tada Menon Yedema Sanje Jumden de Shaja Chazeno Judo Jazu Share Kanze Kanye Sajen de la Commande Manen Jiden de Tezekeva Jona Chazem Nanda Kunga Ishijazu Sejen Humboda Chaban Jiden Sum Mumbo Chuni Jona Chazem Sejo de Mojimen Sendo Rawa Jona Chazem Jure Nyame Chenjen Jona Chazem Mumbo Tuje Tuje Sono Yende Jazo Yendi Shen Shala Chazem Taben de Jang Giving as on the region to the Mushojo Washin Jama Trene Treva Lanya de Lavatana Rabine Shingat Gindela Chazem the watching Mijajan Gava Rangazim Yanzo de Tene Sanje Temple Karma Ravi Mameda Gumase Chubradan Melamota Tinda Decision on the Rada Sonon the Tamjes Commandant God Nada Shiva Love Jive Sive
To the
Teacher, the Blessed One, the One, the Full Destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, the Lord of the Lord, supreme light of beings, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the Blessed One, the glorious Conqueror, the subduer of the Shadow, I prostrate and make offerings and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one only, the Lord destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, the Sugata, no other world, supreme light of beings three things, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious Conqueror, the subduer from the shattered man. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, no other word, supreme guide of beings to retain, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious Conqueror, subdue from the Shakya. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When the supreme among humans you upon on this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies born supremely pure, wisdom motion like golden mountain, flame that blazes in the 3 worlds, we know the past, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 words are known. Incorruptible, to you I prostrate. Savior having great compassion, the teacher having all understanding, the field of merit with the qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to dustness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to that Dharma which pacifies that prostrate. Those who are liberated and most assure the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the sublime community and virtue I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, mirage, or flame of a lamp, an illusion of a drop of dew or bubble,
A dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits, we sentient beings attain record all sin, subdue the four thoughts, and be delivered from motion of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death.
Sanje Shana Zoje Shana Chanju Bada Dagin Zoje Sonam Je, Rola Penje, Sanje Sanje Shana Zoje Shana Chanju Bada Dagin Zoje Sonam Je, Rola Penje, Sanje Sanje Shana Zoje Shana Chanju Bada Dagin Zoje Sonam Je, Rola Penje, Sanje Shana Zoje Shana Chanju Bada Dagin Zoje Sonam Je, Rola Penje, Sanje
I go for refuge and sacrifice to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge and mountain to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge and mountain to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Samje Mala Shan, the Mandela Sanje Jumne, the Shenji Manja, the Rajavan Jiden Java Javan, Sanje Jumne, the Azoan, the Shenji, Sonata Judum, Givasavan, Severa Dunyama Sonam Jetera, Peja Samban, Sanam Yemeto, Juremoto. Tona meeting by me, but the Rema Longer, Shero Sigem, Tona, the woman. Same Jatam Jama, Chanju Saman, Yava, Pabia, Yavo, Yangana, they were on Jet and Jovan on Jet, Japan, over Sanjim, Sona Brota. Yanyama Gujeta, so Major Bokutumba, the Vatagama, Soda, Sumavata. Dungella number two, Pumba, number two, Kanada made them by Jajana Manda, one I should do. Yozo no Wadana number two, Sibale to what you want, Yogo, Majuma. Tadajama Zanjim, then the Jishalan de Aba, Yagan, never Yana. Simjatam Janosibe Sala Shuba, and the Tande Sanjim, then the Kushivan and then Yanda. Tabe Jana Tomagiba, Padagiba, Tamagiba, to answer, Central, Madepa, Yoso, Yoso Taba, Yoso Jawa, Yahanda, Dembe, Tushabama, Yawata, Titonama, Kevan, Suzura. Rivajavajam, then the Yana was a bit the one never the Yavaja was a bit shanty, and Ravajava, Tabayu, Vajava, Tavajam, and the Leverajuma, Rivajuma, Tomajuba, Charge with the Javason and Javajian and Yans, Javanas, Javakuno, Javanas, Javachambo. Kangia to the Yazona Dawa touch of vegetation at the Quadamantana chance. So we are on page number 10, right? Chapter 9, special after special insights. So we have finished, about the karma abiding. Now the special insight. After realizing karma abiding, meditate in special insight, thinking as follows: all the teaching of the Buddha are perfect teachings, and they directly or indirectly reveals and lead to suchness with utmost clarity. If you understand the suchness, you will be free of all the net of the wrong views, just as the darkness is dispelled when the light appears. Mere calm abidings meditations cannot purify the pristine awareness, nor can it eliminate the darkness of the obscuration. When I meditate properly on the suchness with wisdom, pristine awareness will be purified. Only with wisdom can realize suchness. So I think here is talking about previously mentioned the importance of the calm abiding. So you know calm abiding. When you have steady abide in the suchness or truth, then there is the calm. By calming, being able to abide on the suchness, right? So the calm means, prevents the distractions, and therefore, so you meditate single-pointedly. So the object of the calm abiding, anything can be object of the calm abiding, like image of the Buddha, or the table, or light, or anything. Right? So why says if you single-pointedly meditate, your meditation is steady with that object, then automatically it prevents all the distractions. So that's the calm abiding. Now it's saying that calm abiding alone is not going to lead you to the liberations, because single-pointedly single-pointed meditations, or longer period of time, that being able to abide in any object can brings the calmness. So physical calmness, mental calmness, but this is not the purpose of here the Kamalasila's kind of emphasizing the importance of the calm abiding. So calm abiding, Kamalashila saying that the calm abiding with the wisdom realizing emptiness is only path that can lead you to the liberations. Yeah, so being calm is not necessary to be it is not that important. So calm and being able to abide in single object, the single object, and reveals the truthness, the ultimate truthness. So realization of ultimate truthness can open the gate for the liberations. So this is why here this chapter is talking about the special insight, the benefit or purpose of the benefit of the special insight. Special insight here is, in order to, eliminate the darkness. Darkness which means obscuration for the liberation. To overcome the obscuration for the liberation, so you need to generate the wisdom realizing emptiness. So when I meditate properly on the suchness, in Tibetan sometimes we use Teshini, as it is the suchness here, as it is. Teshini, with the wisdom, the pristine awareness will be purified. Only with wisdom can realize the suchness. Only with wisdom can I effectively eradicate obscuration. So obscurations so is referring to the afflictive emotions, a delusional mind. So therefore, the engaging in the calm abiding meditations, I shall search for the suchness with wisdoms, and I shall not remain contained with the calm abiding alone. So what is suchness like? It is the nature of all phenomena that ultimately they are empty of the self of person and the self of the phenomena. So this is realized through the perfection of the wisdom, not otherwise. So unraveling the thought of the sutra that reads, O Tathagata, by the which perfections do Bodhisattvas apprehend identitylessness of phenomena. The Avalokiteshvaras, it is apprehended by the perfection of the wisdom. Therefore, meditate on the wisdom while engaging in karma abiding. So, it's saying that single-pointed meditation and to associate with the wisdom that understands the emptiness. Right. That's simple. Too many words, but the essence is, being able to single-pointed meditate on emptiness is the only kind of wisdom that can eradicate all the obscurations of the liberation. So so I'll read. Number 3 is the yogi should analyze in the following manner: a person is not observed as a separate from the mental and the physical aggregates. So number 3 is talking about what is the selflessness of the person, how it, so what is the meaning of the selflessness of the person? Then says a person is not observed as a separate from the mental and the physical aggregates. There is no such self of the person that is independent from the body and mind, right? So there is no independent person, from mind and the body. So once we negate the person being, independent from the body and the mind, the second step here is the element and the sense powers. So physical aggregates like elements in the inner elements and the sense faculties like eye sense power, ear sense power, nose sense power, tongue sense power, body sense power. And then elements, the moistures, the heats, the airs, the solidities, the earth elements. And, there is no such persons apart from it. So once we negate the independent, the person being independent from the, inner elements and the sense faculty, what is left is two options. One that think the person may be, identical with the body, identical with the sense faculty, or the person is not identical, no different. Right. So, nor is the person of the nature of aggregates and so forth. Not is a person. The person is not the body. Person is not the eye sense power, nose sense power, tongue sense power, body sense power. Person is not the air, not the space, not the heat, not the solidities. No different from them. So this is like, you can say there is a forest as a singular, a forest, but the forest is not different from each trees. And a forest is not the each trees, not apart from it. So, and what is the forest? The forest is conceptually constructed entity depending upon collection of the tree, right? A garden is, conceptually constructed entity depending upon collection of the flowers. The nation is also conceptually projected entity and depending on many peoples, right? So this is why they're saying the empty of the self of person, empty of the self person. Because the aggregate and so forth have the entity of being many in impermanence. So the reason here is the person is not the body, not the element. And here's the reason, because body, like when the element says that there's many, space, air, heat, moistures, and solidities. So if you say all of them are person, then there's too many person, right? And it is impermanent in the sense that impermanence is the element, elementary structures, the body, which has the beginning and has the end. So any of these parts never goes to next life. So therefore, this is not the person. The person will be continuously propelled by the karmic, karmic actions. So die in here and then propel to the next life. So there is no any particles in the body can go to the next life, right? So it is impermanence and it is the many. Therefore, these are not the person. Others have the imputed the person as a permanent, others, the other school, like some of the non-Buddhist school, thinking that the person is soul or atma. It is a permanent, and it is single. All the person is unmarried. This is non-Buddhist school from their philosophical point of view. They kind of, assert that there is the self or person, which is they call it atma, and it is the nature of the self of the person is permanent, and it's singular, is one unity, and it is the pervasive. So it everywhere it can it can go this life to the next life, and the human realm to the God realm to the hell realms. Everywhere it goes, and the nature itself is the unity, is a single unities, and it is never changed by how many times you die, how many get ill and cure. There is no change in that nature of this Atma. This is what they think. The person as a phenomenon cannot exist except as one or many, because there is no other way of existing. Therefore, we must conclude that the assertion of the worldly I and mind is wholly mistaken. Wholly mistaken. So, ordinary, the way you conceive I am and mine, and here saying Kamalasila, it is always, mistaken, either mistaken with respect to the appearance, mistaken with respect to the way it apprehends the nature of the I and mind. Why? Because normally how they conceive themselves, sometimes they conceive they are one with body, sometimes they conceive the independent from the body. Right? So when you say this is mine, my head, my body, my hand, my leg, my head, so then there's the me independent from the legs and heads and hands, because as a possessor, these are the possessions that belongs to me. So that's how you conceiving the self of the person is independent from the aggregates. And sometimes we say, I am, and here, right? So you conceive yourself is no different. It is body, this is me. So sometimes you conceive one with aggregates, sometimes you conceive the different from the aggregates, apart from the aggregates. That's why the wholly mistaken, is always mistakenly conceived. So therefore the misconception.
When it says the person as a phenomenon, are they talking about a person as a concept?
Person is a phenomenon. What's phenomena?
Phenomenon.
Where? The self of persons and the self of phenomena. Self is not a person. Table itself, tree itself, car itself. But it's kind of, there's a something is a single unit. When the table itself has the legs and the tops, shapes and designs. So you have constructed and conceptually, the table is a single unit which has many parts. So that's called self. Something it gives you the idea, when you identify something, that identity of that is in the center, and that has many parts, many things that connect to it or including in it. A mountain, a forest. So is a self means something in the center, something that is, kind of as a possessor, something that, that includes in one single unit is the self. So self, self in the person, self in the person, self in the phenomena. So there is saying there's no self in the person, there is no self in the phenomena.
So that's the parts.
Phenomena means other than the person, everything is phenomena. Now, when we divide the person and the phenomena, means me and my body, my feelings. I am the person, and body is the phenomena, and feeling and emotions all are count as the phenomena. So when we divide person and phenomena, the person and other than the person all are, in that category of phenomena.
So when we speak of one and many, can we speak of them as a dependent arising one and as intrinsic?
Dependent arising.
So self in the body, I guess?
I think you should understand that ultimately they are empty of self of person, empty of self of phenomena. So it's the self which is always comes to negation element. So, yeah. So then when we talk about what is the empty of self of person, what is the self of person, and how you negate the self of person, then say, if there is self of person, then person there is the person that is independent, independent from the body, independent from the mind, then there is a self in the person. So when there is no person independent from the body and the mind, so there is no self in the person. Person is not by itself. The person is not by itself. The person is conceptually projected, a fabricated entity depending upon the body and mind. So how that person could exist by itself? So we are negating the self in the person. We're not establishing there is a self of person. You know. So then the reason for why the person is, once we negate the person is independent from the body and mind, and then we, think that, if the person is not independent body and mind, maybe the person is body, maybe the person is mind, or maybe a person is in the body, maybe a person is with each consciousness, right? So then we negate that. There is no person, the body is not a person, saying that if the body is person, and each element in the body has to be person, and then there are many person in the person, right? So my moisture in my body is the person, the heat in the body is the person, and the liquidity and then air that keep breathing in and out, all a person. That sometimes, when you're sitting there, the person comes in, person goes out from your body, because the air comes in and the air goes out. All the airs that comes in and out are person. So there are many people coming in and out from your mouth. So there's many, because these elements are many, therefore there are not you. Right? There are not you. And then another thing is, body has a beginning. The person has no beginning. Body has the end. The person has no end. Person continuously, due to karmic force, the person is always, how say, appears in many forms and many realms. So this body is not going to appear in the next life, or the God realm, the animal realms. And once this turns into ashes, there is no continuity of that body. The person has the continuity. So so then, now we have negated the person is being different from the mind and the body, and we also negate the person is not identical with the body, not identical with the mind. And then what is the conclusion from that is, the person is conceptually, linguistically constructed. Is a language has created, give the identity. Your thought has given it identity. Other than that, there is no such, essence in it. Right. So this is the one of the option. And then if you, and then another possible is like non-Buddhist schools, like a Samkhya school, they think that, the person is independent from the body and mind, because the person is not the body, person is not the consciousness, person is not in the body, person is not in the consciousness. Therefore, a person has to be independent from mind and the body. So once the person is independent from the mind and the body, and then it becomes the permanent. It becomes, the permanent nature, which has no change at all. This person, is independent from the body and mind. Then, according to their school, according to their school, so the person become, permanent. Therefore, it has no father and mother to give birth to it, right? So if you think that you are independent, permanent, no cause and conditions, you also have to accept. So that person, that me, is not born from my mother and my mother's. My mother has no give birth to me, right? Or she gave birth to my body. So then you have no happy birthday. Happy body days.
Geshe,
Yeah.
is that because if they think that the body, that you're permanent, you always have been. You've always existed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, so that would make it permanent, but that would make it permanent.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So how many times you get ill, it has no change to the Atma. How many times you have get healed from the illness, again, there is no change at all to the body. How many times you die, your body, burned and cremated, you have never, no change at all, right? So they should not be complaining, I'm not happy or I'm excited. They have no right to say, because there's no change to the self of the person.
If they were permanent, there'd be.
Yeah, if they're permanent, yeah.
Yeah.
So they have no right to say this is the human right or this is the animal right, because you have no right, because you're not dependent on cause and condition. No space has complained that we have a right. So this, yeah. So now they conclude that the assertion of the worldly I and mind is wholly mistaken. So the mundanely, how we conceive the self, myself, and my is, always with misconceptions. So now this is saying that first the importance of the special insight, the wisdom, generating wisdom is important. Yes, it is important. The come abiding meditation is very important, but without the wisdom, come abiding, can bring to you like just the calmness, the calmness for a short time, So if you are seeking liberations, the calm abiding alone cannot show the path to liberations. So you should have the calm abiding with special insight. So that comes from, perfection of the wisdom. The wisdom. What is that wisdom? Wisdom realizing selflessness of the person, selflessness of the phenomena. The calm abiding associating with the wisdom, is the path to liberations. Because this wisdom has the, power to overcome or eliminates the obscuration for the liberations. This wisdom has the power to, oppose and reduce the afflicted emotions. Anything that has played a role as antidote to overcoming that delusional mind is the path to lead to the liberations. So that's why I say, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. So subdue means that. So yeah, number 4, that meditations on the selflessness of phenomena should also be done in the following manner. Phenomena, in short, are included under the 5 aggregates, the 12 sources of the perceptions. Sources of the perceptions. First, the 5 aggregates: the body, aggregates of the body, aggregates of the feeling, the aggregates of the discrimination awareness, the aggregate of the mental formations or what emotionals, and then aggregate of the perception like eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness. So these 5 aggregates. And then 12 sources of the perceptions. 12 sources of perceptions, the color, the form, sound, smell, taste, textures, and phenomena. Phenomena, which means, the imagination of the mental projections. And then eye sense power, ear sense power, nose sense power, tongue sense power, body sense power, and the mental faculties become 12 sources of the perceptions. To generate eye consciousness, you have to have a form and then eye sense power. So with form and eye sense powers, generate the eye consciousness. Sound and ear sense power generate the ear consciousness. Smell and nose sense power generate nose consciousness. And taste and the tongue sense power and generate this tongue consciousness. And the textures and the body sense power and generate the body consciousness. And the imaginations of the mental construct with mental faculties generate the mental consciousness. So this is why 12 source of the perceptions, 12 source of perceptions. And the elements are, then the elements are also important. The elements are the source of this form, sound, smell, taste, textures. The elements are also the source of eye sense power, ear sense power, nose sense, tongue sense power, body sense powers. Because the inner elements, with inner elements, you develop the eyes faculty, ear faculty, nose faculties. And outer elements as a source, and from there, what reflects to the sensory perceptions is a form, sound, smell, taste, textures. So the elements, 12 sources of the, and then the 18 elements come to get. So 18 elements, it can come to there. The element, it says, translation says element. Yeah. Like, 18 is 3 kind of, 6 3s are 18. 6, right? So it's like there's a 6 object, 6 object, like form, sound, smell, taste, textures, and a mental image. Right? And then 6 faculties, eye sense, eye faculty, ear faculty, nose faculty, tongue, body, mental. And then eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mental consciousness. 6 3 6 6 6 6 18 elements. The physical aspect of the aggregates, source of the perceptions, suya comes, the physical aspect of the aggregates, source of the perceptions, and elements are, in the ultimate sense, nothing other than aspect of the mind. So Kamalasila, these masters following medieval autonomous school and medieval autonomous Yogacharya, and more closer to the mind only school. So he was saying, if you go, examine each of these 16 elements, what you can find at the end is just the consciousness, just the experience. Nothing but experience. From the experience, you say there's a form to see. From the experience, you say there's the eye faculties. From the experience, you say there's the sound. To finally end up in just the experience of the consciousness. It's all is the creation of the mind.
Do they negate external?
Yeah, so when they say everything is mind, and they don't really accept the external. There is no form that is built based on the particles. It's part of the mind. So this is because when they are broken into the subtle particles, and the nature of the parts of these subtle particles is individually examined, no definite identity can be found. So like minority school, they says, there is no form to see, which is externally exist. So why? They says, if there is such form as a color that is externally exists, then you have to find the source of that color is also externally generated or produced. And what is the source that produced the color? And then you have says, finally, the particles, the collection of the particles. And that way, you have to accept there's the color in the particles. So if the color in the particles, why the particles is not visual form? Particles is a deducted form, is a mentally observed form. It is not through the eye. When the particles could not be seen through the eye, how can you think? How can you really, make sense that there's the color in the particles? So the color do not exist in the particles and the collection of the particles. Therefore, the color do not exist externally. And it's just the consciousness experience. Nothing but consciousness experience. So that's why particles individually examined, no identity, no definite identity can be found. So this is why it end up always is the creation of the mind or the mental reflections. So number 5, in the ultimate sense, the mind too cannot be real. Now, because the Kamalasila also, proponents of the mind-only school, followers of the Prajnaparamita Sutra, so then says, so those, things that you see through sensorily, through sense perceptions, like form, sound, smell, taste, textures, and you cannot find them, they exist outside. And it is all kind of experience that reflects in the mind. So for only you can find is the mind. Right? And then the mind itself, when we examine, and then says, mind too cannot be real. But there is no such mind that is definite. Right? How can the mind that apprehends only the false nature of the physical form and so forth, and appears in the various aspects, be real? So how can there is the mind that is truly exist, truly exists? If the mind is truly exists and it is independent, and then there is the mind that the actively engaging on an object without the elements. So the no mind is actively engaging without the elements, without the outcome of element, without the derivatives of the elements. Because the sense faculties, you have already think that sense faculties is something built from the how's that, the inner element. The air that keep breathing in and out is the one of the condition that builds the sense faculties. And the heat, the moistures, and solidities, space, and all are, conditioning, existing of the faculties. So there is no independent mind. There is no mind that is truly exists by itself. So the mind too cannot be real. How can the mind that apprehends only the false nature of the physical form and so forth, and appears in various aspects, be real? Just as physical forms and so forth are false, since the mind does not exist separately from the physical forms and so forth. When the physical forms, like color, sound, smell, taste, textures, when they do not exist, independently or truly, then, how can the I consciousness that truly exists, which is, generated based on the inner element, the moistures and the heat? So just as the physical forms and so forth are false, since the mind does not exist separately from the physical forms and so forth. So the I consciousness is no different from the I sense power. I sense power is no different from the color. The color, sense power, and consciousness. So essentially they kind of get merged from one source becoming many. So that's the which are false. It too is false, just as physical form and so forth possess the various aspects, and their identities are neither one nor many. Similarly, since the mind is not different from them, its identity too is neither one or many. Therefore, the mind by nature is like an illusion. It's that it's magical, magically being generated, a magical illusion. Mind is playing like magical illusions, and sense power that is allowing the mind to see things is also a magical illusions. It's from the relativities, the elements in your body, elements outside, and the consciousness join within that inner element, the contact of the outside element, inside element contact. And then there's the faculties, there's the consciousness, and their objects. So now this is talking about you need meditate on the selflessness of the phenomena with the calm abiding, with single-pointedly. So which means mindfulness the body, when we mindfulness the body, we kind of, analyze what is the body. What is the body? So they then say, do you think that, the moisture in the body and heat in the body, the airs in the body, space in the body, and you say each of them has no kind of identity of the body. heat, air, right? So there is no such body in there. So, and then what you see is a constant, disintegrations. They're changing in the body. And just remain focused that changes, whatever the changes that are happening in the inner elements within the body. And you just closely watch and place your mind very close to that nature of the body. It's called mindfulness of the body. So then sometime Vavashika school, they says, when you meditate the mindfulness of the body, directly what you perceive, explicitly what you see, is just the function, the element functioning in the body. Indirectly what you understand, there is no permanent I, there is no permanent person. So, like, this is what they call empty shell. Empty shell. So, explicitly what you're seeing is just the air, heat, moistures, and the space, and then from there, some kind of solidities is there. And when you try to think, is it possible there is me in this moisture? There's me in that heat. There's me in this space. There's me that air comes in and out. So by directly perceiving each of the element and their function, indirectly you understand there is no person, there is no self of the person. So that is the mindfulness of the body. So there's a four kind of mindfulness: the mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of the feeling, mindfulness of the consciousness, mindfulness of the phenomena. All these, the wisdom exercise include in these three or four kind of training of the mindfulness. Right? Mindfulness of the body means just simply reflects inside the body, and then try to understand, or we usually use the word that placing your mind close to that, the elements of the body, and then think this moisture, this heat, this air, this space. So then you say everything is changing, nothing still standing still. Everything is disintegrating. One dies, another comes, one dies, another. There is like a river, constant happening. Then all the functions totally dissolve, and that means they die. So, every element in the body is going towards that end. It's exhausting. It's in the process of exhaustions. So the it seems like even in the non-Buddhist, some of the some non-Buddhist like Vedantaka schools, Vedantaka, and then what is the we call Ripachemba. There's some non-Buddhist school. They same similar understanding of this kind of meditations. So now when they analyze in the body, like Vavashika school, they sees, I can only see is the impermanent natures. There is no such person. And then non-Buddhist school says, these are all functioning. There is no driver, right? Function, there's no anything in the center. But behind that, there's something is impacting or influencing or something that's allowing, pushing to function of the elements in the body. And that's called Atma, that's Paramatma. And they call this is the creator, the Bhagavan. So you are part of that. So there's inside you cannot find because your mind is too closely looking at each element. You are not being able to find any illustration of self or the person in that. And then because you have not found, you haven't found the driver, you haven't found the center. So wherever you are, there is a kind of the blind spot, and then it says, "Oh, this must be done by Bhagavan. This must be done by, that creator." So that's why they say, still they hold on the prominent eye. So when they analyze, examine what they closely understood, in the reality, there is no Atma, there is no person, there is no Paramatma. But because these are all functioning, it's almost like it designed, it kind of, designed to function. So then who is the designer? So then they says, oh, there is a Paramatma. Yeah. So same kind of meditation, this is also practiced in non-Buddhist school and the Vaibhashika school. And then this, Kamalasila's, his maybe Yogacharya school. So this is, the element, the functioning is also from the experience of the consciousness. Consciousness experience heat, then says, oh, there is the heat in the body. The consciousness experience the air, and then you say there's the air element. The consciousness experience the moistures, and there's a water element. Consciousness experience solidity, and therefore you says there is the earth element. So, if you boil down and what is the, in what condition they think that you think there is 4 element, because I experience separately. I experience 4 separate things. My consciousness experiencing solidity, moisture, heat, air, and space. Therefore, I say the 4 elements of the 5 elements. So it's all boiled down to the experience of the consciousness. You're just simply expressing what you experience. So that's the Yogacharya school is saying, everything when you go kind of, objectively analyze, and at the end, what you can find is experience of the consciousness. Now, the consciousness, from the consciousness you experience separately. So therefore you say, but there are many. There are one. So there's one or the many is because of the consciousness experience. Then the very consciousness is also, when you examine the consciousness, and consciousness is not apart from the inner elements. Consciousness is not apart from the sense faculties. Consciousness is not apart from its object. So the consciousness and whatever you say, form, sound, smell, taste, textures, how many times you count it, you kind of, differentiate it. But all at the end is the experience of the consciousness. So then you kind of come to understand at the end, well, there is no anything that truly exists by themselves. And that absence of the true existing of the phenomena, and then you just try to abide on that suchness, that, thusness or the suchness, try to remain focused on that absence of true nature of, the phenomena. So analyze that, number 6, that analyze that just like the mind, the nature of all phenomena too, is like an illusion. In this way, when the identity of the mind is specifically examined by the wisdom, in the ultimate sense, it is perceived neither within nor without. So sometimes people think that, oh, they're meditating emptiness. What is the emptiness that you're meditating? Oh, I try not to think about I am. Then there's nothingness. So some people think this is the emptiness. This is not emptiness. That is the, what called, not knowing anything. Right? Is a nothingness or not knowing anything. Not knowing anything is not emptiness. Emptiness, knowingly, knowingly trying to find objective and it could not be found. So that, you went through every possibility of the phenomena. You went through all the possibility of, what you thought of. There is the 4 elements. You closely look into each of the elements, and you cannot find any illustration of the person of me. And you closely watch the sense faculty and their object, and you could not find there too is no self of the person. And then that very absence, the unfindable of me, is your object to focus. And try to remain and focus, staring at that absence. So that's the called meditating on the selflessness of the person. So we have now pretty much talked about the self, empty of self, of phenomena, and self person. So sometimes you can also say, there is no person's self, there's no person's self, there's no self in the person. Now, person by himself, which means, one single person's and sitting all by himself without having company. So that is in ordinary language, ordinary term. So I sit there by myself. I'm having coffee by myself. So what is excluding is company. Here they say there is no self in the person. There's no person's self, means there is no within the body, there is no one center that, that commands all these faculties. So the function of the elements in the body is not done by one single thing. There's no driver in that. It is just the air is the one of the factors, and then by air keep coming in and out, produce the heats, and from the heat there's the moisture, from the moisture there's the solidity, the earth element. So earth element is not the center that drives all the heat in the air. Air is not the center, it produces the heat. So just all the elements, functioning together. So self is not, there's no self in the person. There is no person's self. There is no self in phenomena. There's no phenomena's self. Yeah? Any questions? So I think the concept of self is something, one aspect of the self, how we really reflects and how we define the self in our in normal perceptions. So something that self means, something that excludes something else, and it's in the center. So that kind of, the way you perceives is you are kind of identifying the self that you see in everything. Yes, yeah. One of the So when you meditate mindfulness, the body, and again you reflects on the elements, the functioning in your body, and then you see the moistures in the body. So moistures, in the outside of the bodies. What is the difference? Outside moisture has no feeling, no sense of perceptions. Inside the body, the moistures in the body has no feeling, no perception. Inside heat has no perceptions, no feeling. Outside heat has no perception, no feeling. The air that you inhale, air that's already exhaled, or air is that in the space, all of them, there's no feeling, no perceptions. Right? So how it is possible that the senseless, unanimated, things can, generate or produce an animated person. So this air in the body and air outside, what's the difference? So you inhale, that also exhale, and exhale in the space. Whatever the air that outside, you inhale. So that's if the outside air is unanimated, and you're in the air that inhale is also unanimated, animated, right? Yeah. So how can there is the person's animated person from combination of all the unanimated form? So in this way, you analyze, examine. You could not really objectively and understand being able to conceive the upper hand. There is no such person. It is impossible. So that absence of no finding the self of the person is also the object for the special insight. And as a result, from that not finding the persons within the body or outside the body, and then you come to understand the concluding that, the self, the person, then the male or female, and then the person is postman or the driver or the restaurant owners or the manager, whatever, is constantly conceptually constructing. Is that constant designation by the thought. So the me and my is a part of that mental construct. So which means it's kind of abstract, it's kind of, mental projection, it's kind of fabrications. So this kind of constant projections of the mind become so solid to you, so concrete to you, so matter to you. For that construct, we still rely for that. So this is something very, very vivid and solid to you. So I think, totally kind of, what do you call it? You just, what is the word for that? Submitting, or you succumb to your mental projections. And then what you do is, and you become so emotional, so narrow thinking, because you are totally worshiping your own projection. So there's no flexibilities, and then easily get angry, easily get attached, jealousies. So now here the same saying that self has no sense. There's no life in it. So that absence of that kind of self is the, we bring that to the focus and, try to familiarize with this, the absence of that thing. And more you familiarize, more you become, closer, understanding, finding this is like illusion-like form. It's like a dream object. And you don't really give the kind of, you don't really, rely on it. You say it's the creation of my mind. It's creation of my language. It's all come from the letters, the languages. So so here, therefore, the mind by nature is like an illusion. So form that you see through the eye consciousness by the nature, it is like an illusion. A sound that is by nature is like illusion. Taste is like, by nature, is like illusions. The illusion means it 100% is sure it exists, because it's, it is observable object, it's conceivable and apprehendable, it is the perceptible, therefore 100% it is exist. Now, because it is illusion and it is not true as it appears to me. Right? So the lie, illusion, conventionals. So these are 100% exist, but it's not exist as it appears. Yeah, so number 6, they analyze that just like a mind, the nature of all phenomena too is like an illusion. In this way, when the identity of the mind is specifically examined by the wisdom, in the ultimate sense, it is perceived neither within nor without. So the I consciousness, where is I consciousness? Is I consciousness, with or within I sense power? Is I conscious with or within the heats in the body, within the moistures in the body? There is no I consciousness. But, the heats, the air, the space, earth, then with the consciousness experience, there's a sense faculty, there is the form that appears to the sense faculty, experienced by the consciousness. Right. So if you objectively identify the mind, each of the consciousness, it is unfindable. To perceive neither in the within, it is also not perceived in the absence of both. The consciousness without the heat and the moistures, the earth solidities, the space, there is no I consciousness to see. There is no I sense power that could receive the reflections. So neither the mind of the past, nor that of the futures, nor that of the present is perceived. So no present mind has found within the elements, right? No future mind, no past mind, no present mind has found, outside of the element. Without elements, no present mind has found. No present mind has found within the element or without the element. So in this way, the past mind or the future mind, all of them is kind of, so it's kind of relativities. There's the relativities. It's a connecting, connectivities, yeah? So the is a perceived when the mind is born, it comes from nowhere. When the heat has born, when the heat is in the body, it's not coming from outside. When heat is dissolved, not going to outside. So it just remains in that connectivities. So no I sense power has come outside, not from other inside. So when person is alive, all the elements is actively functioning. So actively functioning, actively present in the body. So when they are actively present, each of the elements is not as it come from outside. When the person die, element do not, exit from the body. It just die within. So it's the same way that each of the sense power is like that. And why?
I mean, it seems to me that, did I say something funny already? It seems to me that
it's like it's like my youngest baby.
dissipates. Seems to me he does dissipate. It does transfer. It does escape. It does cool. It does mix.
It does cook.
Cool.
Okay.
Transfer. It goes from outside to inside and inside to outside. So,
Just make sure you got it.
and when you die, again the heat dissipates. The body becomes cold. The body generally, except in the case of a great siddha, does not stay warm, except in the case of a great siddha, who can kind of somehow he's physically perceived as dead by, heart and brain waves, and yet like with the 16th Karmapa when he died, his body remained warm. But normally for the rest of us, the body does cool. It does escape. The warmth escaped from the outside, from the inside to the outside. I think it seems to me this is undeniable. So I'm having difficulty with your description of he'd be nowhere going nowhere.
Yeah, I can follow you. I can also say same like you. If you want me to say, or just simply you want to say it goes out because it's not there. Because when you die,
If the focus is
listen, Larry. Kamapas when die, the body heats in the body stays. So we dies, body get cold. He was there, now it's not there, so then he must be go out. This is what your reason. Before he was there, now it's not there. Oh, he must have gone down.
No.
So what else you want to say?
I'm mischaracterizing what I'm saying.
So it's almost like you are going to.
I'm stating this based on the account I read of Karmapa's death in the hospital, and how his doctor was completely shocked because what normally happens at death did not happen in his case. But that's not my point. My point is that we're talking about observing the elements.
I think Larry maybe he may easily point someone, a thief. If I put something on my table, it was there. Now it's not there. You must have took it, or you forgot. I ate it all. So
I'm simply
complaining.
I'm simply saying.
So we want reason.
I'm simply saying that it seems to me to defy our common observation that heat doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't transfer.
So when you boil the water, after you boil the water, you turn off the gas and just let it. So people say heat goes out or heat just disappear. Because you say it was there before, now it's not there, it's cold. It must have gone out. It's just before it was cold, hot in boiling water, and you just leave it for a longer time, and heat reduce. Reduce does not mean it going out. Every heat is coming out, not coming out. It just reduce. So it reduce, it's not going out. We have to stick with the logic. It was there and now it's not there, then it must have gone out. That's not really, practical thinking.
Why?
So Usually, normal people, when they die, the heat always remain for hours, 2 hours, somebody 2, 3 hours. So one of my, the friend in the same village in India, so he died in the debate courtyard by debating, and then after he finishes, his debate, and he sit down just close by me. He was sitting there, and suddenly he inhaled, and he died. He was very skinny. When he died, we carried very heavy. And then I put the hand on his heart. Is warm for a long time. So I thought maybe he just fainted, passed out. So I just rubbed his hand so many times, So there's no possible coming. So the heat is still there because heat was there. Now it's reducing. It is not like, this heat has to stay with body all the time. Even the 16 or 17 or 18 karmapa, so body has to reduce. There's no karmapas element, So there's no air in karmapa, there's no heat in the karmapa. So it's reduced. This is what we call dissolutions. Evaporate, dissolutions. So dissolution does not mean it's going out. So evaporating, dissolving, disappearing, finish. So each of the elements in the body is like that. They all dissolve, disappears, and with that, all the faculties dissolve, disappears, and with that, each eye consciousness, air consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness dissolve, disappears. Even the mental consciousness. So all dissolve, which means now the consciousness, the cellular energies, is no longer connected with this body. Right? The consciousness no longer have connectivities with the body. That this particular body, which means it has no body at all, instantly has another form of the body. When this body is kind of detached, another form of the body. It's not like a flesh body is a form there. And sometimes I feel like in non-Buddhist school, the Paramatma, Atmas, is kind of sounds very, kind of cool. Because, when this self, the person, it disappears, the identity is totally lost. Identity of that person is totally lost. That the very moment is exhaustions of that identity and appears instantly another form, another identity, another I am. So that kind of, the identity, that kind of form is also element, kind of is the outcome element. It is the, generated from the elements, and that also, by nature, has to be disintegrate. So this also totally dissolve when this consciousness, this person enters in the mother's womb. And then again, totally dark and just, all the form of that is dissolved. And from there, and then the consciousness, the function, the habit, is subconsciousness all start, kind of active or kind of functioning subconsciously. So the sutra of the interest in the mother's womb, and they talk about each week, those subconscious in the form of the wind, it creates part of the body's the nerve systems, nerve systems, this part and this part gradually developing, and then there is start building up the sense faculties, then consciousness. So then again, it dissolve back and it disappear. It's no way it goes. So there's a sutra of the entering in the mother's womb. Buddha has taught this to the Nanda, one of his is a cousin or something, a cousin brother or something, someone. Yeah. So because he has so much attached, so he has so much attachment. So Buddha kind of, when he first came to see the Buddha, visit Buddha, and because he has so much attachment to there's a girlfriend, So, but he has a faith in the Buddha. So he come to the Buddha. So Buddha says, now you should stay here. You have to be monk. He could, there's no kind of dare to say no. So he could not say no. Everything the Buddha says yes, but inside he is totally against that. So, so the Nanda, Buddha kind of, for him to generate the renunciations, Buddha talk about this entrance in mother's womb. And Buddha also, kind of miracle projects the hell realm and God realms for him to see. So then he kind of generates some kind of, it's not actual renunciation, but there's the agreement to take the vows, the monastic vows. Because he's afraid of hell realm, he has a desire to go to the God realm. So to kind of afraid of falling in the hell realm and desire to go to the God realm, there is more beautiful than his girlfriend. So you kind of he agreed with her. So then once he took the monastic vows, he wear the monk's robe, and Buddha always sarcastically telling this monk, he just took the vows for the God realm. He's not liberation seeker. He has no interest in the liberation. He just want to go to God realms. Therefore, he took the vows. So kind of there's a he has a little bit the embarrassment. So Buddha kept him for maybe I don't know how many years, because he knows that all his relatives, like new generations, people are all, have the interest in becoming monk and seeking for the liberations. And Buddha wanted him to rule the kingdom. So when he trained in this monastic, then he wanted to send it back to be a king. So at the end, when the father was dying, Buddha says, don't worry, you have him. He will be, you are called, what do you call?
Prince?
Yeah.
Or king?
Yeah, he will be the king. So, because he has no genuine renunciation for the liberation. So, so yeah, this is sometimes we follow Buddha Dharma because we don't want to fall in the hell realm. So keeping you from hell realm, so you follow the Buddha. So you have only one, request to the Buddha. Say, please don't send me to hell realm, just for one time. So next time Next time, I'm not sure. So for that, we follow the Buddha Dharma, recitations, mantras, and so then probably you don't need Buddha Dharma for just not to fall in hell. You do good. You just be nice. And next life continues to born a human being. So for that, you don't need Buddha Dharma, not to fall in hell.
I saw Zong Rinpoche, the old Zong Rinpoche, just one time, only one time. And actually, I never experienced a master so powerful. You could feel almost the air in the air. It was almost unbelievable. But I remember probably when he started, I don't know if it was when he started to speak, but he said he prayed. He prayed to be reborn in the hell realm. It was incredible.
Yeah. I don't think, yeah. It's incredible intelligent or incredible stupid?
Oh, he had such confidence that he could help people in the hell, beings in the hell realm. Incredible.
Yes, what's your question?
I guess if you do fall into the hell realm, can you attain enough good karma to come back to the human realm? Is that
Yeah, you have to come back. Hell, I'm not going to keep you forever. There's a limit, everywhere you go, there's a limit, even that hell realm. So whatever the karmic, your negative karma, until it total exhaust the karma to force you to stay in hell realm, then no one can hold you back in the hell realm. It's just like, it's like a ticket you buy, It's a ticket that only function one-way ticket or two-way tickets or, one for 1 month, it's like that. So no hell realm, no God realm can ever hold anyone forever. It is impossible. Yeah, His Holiness also mentioned, I haven't seen that. There's a Kadamas Geshes. There's a great a book that he wrote. At the end, he dedicated all his merit to born in hell. So, and not only that, he also dedicated all his merit not to get enlightened. So, which means it's not, we are just looking at the word, but behind that word, he wanted to stay in samsara, dispel the suffering of all sentient beings. One single sentient being not left. So which means, he is perfecting his wisdom and compassion. So one part of his own side is every effort is trying to get enlightened, and his intentions, and verbally what he expressing is he wants to stay in samsara forever until every sentient being is ended. But what you do and what you say is opposite. Everything that you do in this way, enthusiastically, right? So every effort, constant effort to dispel the suffering of the sentient beings, how you do that? By perfecting the generosities, the patience, the concentration, the wisdom. And all the effort is expressed to get enlightened. So, and verbally, what he's experiencing is, I want to stay in samsara forever until every sentient being is ended. So, this is what we need to see. It is impossible who has so much effort, so much intelligence, so much compassion. How can he not get enlightened? He will get enlightened much faster than other bodhisattvas. But you have this kind of motivation, intentions. I have desire. This is my goal, to stay in samsara and lead every sentient being to the state of enlightenment. Then I will get enlightened. So I think it's like, the cook or the chef. He cooked most the delicious food and saying that I will eat at the end. But he also enjoy all the smells and the taste, everything by cooking, So but she says, oh, no, I just feed all peoples, then at the end I will eat it. But he has already enjoyed before people have, enjoyed food. So sometimes, this is the any other questions? May I have any questions? May and June. June has a lot of questions.
I don't know how to ask questions. Confused.
Yeah, you just breathe in first. So I think here the point is the combining, right? Single-pointed meditation, steady focus and meditation, and that with understanding of emptiness. So combined together and finding the path to liberations. And without the wisdom, you can do the meditation, you can gain calm abiding, but it only benefits to you physical and mentally calm. Some kind of stabilities in the state of physical and mind, but it's not really sustainable. So it's kind of, this is like, it's like, something is sustainable, reliable, is, not just avoiding the distraction and disturbance, or not temporarily, preventing distraction of the disturbance. It is something finding the antidote to eliminate, to overcome, to undermine the obscurations. So we need antidote. We don't need avoidance. So the Kamalasila is saying is someone who is always trying to find the avoidance from the cause of the suffering. It is like you go to the battle and you close your eyes and hold the knife in your hand and just going to the enemy. So when enemy comes, you just go there and with your knife and you just kneel down, say. So this is like that. And so antidote here is the wisdom only. So through wisdom only you can find you can understand what is the liberations. Right. So just simply understanding intellectually or with experience through meditations, the understanding of the liberation has so much power to cut many of the negative karmas and accumulates a lot of merits. It brings, sustainable peace.
When they talk about in verse 6, the mind of the past and that of the future, nor that of the present is perceived, why do they bring time into that? I'm a little confused about that.
Because they don't want left to go. He doesn't want the left to pass in the future mind. It's like, saying that the consciousness is not within and not without, not within the elements, not without elements. The consciousness functioning is with element. The consciousness is not in the element. So not in the element. So even the past consciousness, the future consciousness, there is no any independent consciousness by independently functioning. So that is important. Yeah. Some people is, when we talk about the present consciousness is not independent from the elements, not within the elements. And how about the past consciousness? How about the future consciousness? So then say, consciousness in general, in any 3 times, do not function independent from the elements, and 3 times the consciousness do not exist or do not generate or produce within the element, because element has no sense of feeling and no perceptions.
That question would come up, wouldn't it, if you saw time intrinsically? I mean, you wouldn't pose a question like that unless you saw time intrinsically.
No, it's not talking about intrinsic. It's just simply talking about, because we have, generally it's based on, you have already known about the mindfulness of the practice. Mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of the feeling and perceptions and the phenomena. So people who have understood that, who have practiced that, and then Kamalasila, in additional, Kamalasila is saying that when you practice the mindfulness of the body, you will come to understand the consciousness, the activity, the function of the consciousness. You cannot find that in each of the elements, right? So the each of the element is totally absence of the, absence of experience and perceptions. But without them, the consciousness also do not actively functioning. So it's not within, not without. Not only in the present consciousness, not even in the past consciousness, future consciousness, like that. In any 3 times, the consciousness do not reside within the elements, or consciousness do not function independent from the elements.
What is the difference between emptiness and impermanence?
Impermanence is the concept that is on the change. Things are changing, from the childhood to the youth to the old age. Impermanence. So, like hour consumed by the minute consumed by the seconds. So these are the impermanent. Emptiness means the identity that identity, right? So when we think about that, what is the entity, the definition of entity? Identified in single unit. So when you angry, when you attach, when you're happy, when you are faithful, when you're devotee, which means that entity, there's something in your mind, there's something that you have identified. So with that, you emotionally react with that, with faith, with compassion, with anger, with attachment. So the emptiness is that kind of identity is constructed, fabricated by your thought. So that the entity that is no exists from its own essence is the emptiness. Understanding you are projecting, you are designating. So designation of the Buddhas, designations, the qualities of the Buddha, designation of the Dharma, designation of the Sangha, designation of male or female, designation of good or bad. So these designations, designated by the language, designated by the thought, so that the object is 100% property of the language, property of the thought. So once is totally belongs to, is the property of the thought and language, it has no essence by itself to be standing still. Like a person. So I am. What is that I am? This I am here is saying I am that I is designated by your language and thought. And now, so what if that I am, that I is not conceptually constructed, is not created by language? Then that I am should be found within the body, within the feeling, within the sense faculty, within the form, sound, smell, taste. Somewhere it has to be there. So now when you found nowhere there is me or person, so then you come to understand, that me and my is the entity that is defined, designated by language, by thought. So once you understand that the I is, the person I am, that is conceptually constructed, then you say, this do not exist by itself. It's projected, it created, fabricated. So that, unreal of that is not truly existing of that is emptiness. Right? So the impermanence is there's a big difference. So impermanence we see every day. So we started, class 2. Now impermanence it ends 4 o'clock. So there is not emptiness. This we can see just looking at the clock. It's changing, it's changing. Emptiness cannot be perceived through the eye. Yeah. Chanju semjo rinpoche maje bana jejuji kevanyamba mewanyo kone kondo pebos. Tonye tawa rinpoche maje bana jeju kevanyamba mewanyo kone kondo pebos. Pama simjen tamje deda denjuji ngendro tamje tado tongwa. Chanju semba kana sushibe deda kunje monom jubjuruji. Kanrere gobe shingazu pendam dewa maden juwe. Jere sama dindin jazu shabe side bado jeju.
May the precious body mind not yet born arise and grow. May the bone of no decline but increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness not yet born arise and grow. May the bone of no decline but increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all father and mother sentient beings have flowed with happiness. And may all lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately.
In the sacred lands surrounded by snow mountains,
you are the source of all benefit and happiness. O powerful change, remain in this world until samsara ends.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Eric.